Hello, this is lesson 3 in our unit on circle chords, and this lesson is going to be very straightforward and very simple. So to begin with, all a chord is just a segment whose endpoints lie on the circle. If you look at the top circle, you would notice that A, B, and X, Y are both examples of chords. And in fact, you are already familiar with chords because the diameter of a circle is going to be the longest chord in a circle. So let's begin by looking at the central angles and see what they tell us about the chords, in this case SR and UT. In circle Q, angle RQS will be congruent to angle UQT because they are vertical angles. Secondly, SQ, TQ, UQ, and RQ are all the radii of the circle, and because of that, they are congruent to each other. Notice that we have two triangles with two sets of congruent sides and one congruent angle. So, by side angle side theorem, the two triangles are going to be congruent. And remember that two triangles being congruent just means that their corresponding parts are also congruent. So we can say that RS is congruent to UT. And in general, how are central angles related to chords? By theorem 3. If two chords are congruent, then their corresponding central angles are also going to be congruent. And the converse of that statement is going to be true. If you need a second to read everything that's on the screen right now, don't hesitate to pause before moving on. We can also see that if two arcs in a circle are congruent, then their chords are going to be congruent. In other words, if we have arc MN over here, and we know that it's congruent to arc PQ, then what theorem 4 allows us to say is that MN and PQ, these two chords, are going to be congruent to each other. And lastly, let's say that we have two chords, and those two chords are equidistant from the center, meaning that they're the same distance away from that point S. If that happens to be the case, then we can say that the two chords, AB and DC, those two chords are going to be also congruent to each other. And then the converse is also going to apply. Let's say that you know that AB is congruent to DC. That tells you that those two chords have to be the same distance away from the center. And with that, we finished the lesson. If anything does not make sense, please let me know down in the comments.